Call it to order and call a roll call, please.
Ms. DeAndre,
Here.
Mr. Kella,
Here.
Mr. Moore,
Here.
Mr. Rosanellis,
Here.
Mr. Shatina,
Here.
Mr. Walden.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this is the duly advertised meeting of the Joliet Plan Commission for the month of October. We've got 2 items on the agenda, and we'll stick to the agenda as printed. First up is we've got a ordinance change, M114. It's an ordinance amending the City of Joliet's consolidated stormwater management, soil erosion, and sediment control and floodplain management regulations. Under general information, section 31-205 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Joliet consists of regulations designed to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Joliet by ensuring that new developments are adequately protected from flooding and other environmental problems. The proposed ordinance will amend the City of Joliet stormwater management regulations to provide a site runoff storage requirement table which establishes when stormwater detention is required for a site. The result of the new table will be to not require storm detention for developments within the City of Joliet that are under 1 acre in size. This change is consistent with the Will County Stormwater Management Ordinance, which establishes the minimum standards that Joliet is required to adhere to as certified community. Additionally, the ordinance addresses methods allowed to calculate the stormwater detention and adds a section for direct discharge sites that do not require stormwater detention. Once again, these additional 2 revisions are consistent with the Will County Stormwater Management Ordinance. The Community Design Review Board reviewed this on October the 2nd, and there are no comments from any city departments. The minutes of the meeting are on file. And Jim Trisna, our Public Works Director, is here to answer any questions on this that you might have. And that concludes our staff report.
You know, essentially, guys, we're just trying to be a little more, two issues here. The first portion about not requiring detention under an acre, the city's old stormwater ordinance was more restrictive than the county's. We had to meet the county's ordinance. In some cases, we've been more restrictive, and we've stayed that way. Here's a situation, we've looked at this many a time and realized that it's actually kind of a waste to some degree. We never get that volume of detention. If you're under an acre, we've got a minimum restrictor size. When you put the minimum restrictor in, you'll never get that volume. We've been looking at this for a while and we say this doesn't make sense. If you put the proper restrictor in to get that volume the developers are designing for, you might have a 1/2 inch diameter. We have a 3-inch minimum diameter, and that's for maintenance issues. You know, we're always trying to worry about it getting blocked up and a parking lot flooded for 10 days after it rains, something like that. So we looked at this and we said, why are, it's not really, we're not getting much benefit. The county doesn't require it. Let's be consistent. And so basically it's somewhat, this time it's somewhat pro-developer friendly. The other couple issues in here.
Jim, if I can ask
Sure.
on that particular item, who's pushing the relaxing of the ordinance with respect to that stormwater detention?
To be honest with you, just the engineers in our group, our staff.
Staff.
Yeah, we've looked at this so many times, like somebody, particularly Scott Gaps, which he reviews a lot of the sites.
Scott's here
and
now.
reg. Yeah, and they're saying to me, Jim, why, over the last few years, we say, why are we requiring this? We're never getting that volume. Let's, it could be better. Let's use this land more efficiently.
Is there any downside to that?
I don't think there
No.
really is, Joe. They still have to provide drainage. They still have to. So you're going to sort of indirectly, when you provide drainage, you're still going to get some detention. It's going to go into storm sewers. You can't just, set your building up high and everything sheet flows onto your neighbors. You've got to drain it. You've got to have some storm sewer, drain it into a storm sewer system. So I don't think there's a real negative with this issue at all. And
What I'm
again,
concerned about is parking. I hope this doesn't overflow into parking. If you go to, just as for instance, Midland Avenue and Jefferson Street, that currency exchange there,
yes,
that's really a bad situation
Yeah.
with the parking there.
yeah.
Sometimes that is because it's
Scott's right.
Right.
parking lot.
Say that again.
Sometimes they do the actual stormwater detention on the surface of the parking lot.
Yeah.
Provide a restrictor that causes it to back up
Yeah.
in the parking lot. So by not doing the detention, probably that.
It should alleviate this. The water will drain down quicker.
Okay,
You
so
won't
you think
be
it'll
flooding parking
clean that
lots as
up?
often as we used
That
to.
kind of a situation?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And I was going to say, the other 2 portions of this,
Yeah.
they're not changes. We've already incorporated Will County's ordinance. We're just making it clear in our ordinance. The 2 issue, one issue is how you truly calculate detention. There's a couple methods. You can use a hydrograph method, or you can use the modified rationale method, and we're just making it clear in our ordinance So if somebody looks at our ordinance, because many times somebody look at our ordinance and say, well, we got to look at the counties also. We're trying to make it a little clearer. So it's not like we're changing anything there. That's what we require. We're just making it, stating it a little clearly. And the same thing with the last criteria, which is the direct
Jim, what was the-
discharge.
Excuse me before you go. What was the terminology on the first one you just talked about?
Hydrograph method?
Yeah, what is that? ISO?
That's a method. It's a kind of a computer model that some developers, engineers use.
So
And
like
they'll
a
look at what a
weather
storm is, and
type of
they'll see
thing?
they'll look at a graph, and they'll see what's
Yeah.
the highest amount of water is, how much water you've got to hold back. It's underneath the curve of the hydrograph. It's kind of a parabolic shaped graph. So
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you were
that's
going
one
on
method.
about-
Yeah, or you can use this modified rational method, and you have to just increase that by 30%.
Was the modified rational method more of a subjective approach to it on behalf of staff, or is that?
No, they're both acceptable. They're both acceptable. We typically have done the modified rational method for years, and back when the county was putting together ordinance, which started almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago, we went back and forth. We mean the city with people on the committee, the stormwater committee.
Thank you.
I had a question, two questions,
Yes.
actually. Will this, the people that already had been mandated to put it in this way, will they have any recourse against the city? And part two of that is, do these people that have already done this, can they change it to go up to the way it is now?
I don't think they have any recourse. I mean, it's like anything else. There's certain rules, and it's like somebody saying I went and bought something on sale. I went something and bought an item on sale. I bought some meat on sale, or it wasn't on sale. And then a week later, it went on sale. Can I get it for sale price? It's just the luck of the draw, so to speak. There. But as far as if they wanted to go in, if they came in and said, "Hey, we got a restrictor, and we'd like,"
Well,
to
they
pull
might have
this-"
lost a bunch of parking area or something
Well,
like that.
they typically don't lose the park. They may have lost some. But again, if they want to come back and modify with their site now, we would work with them and we'd re-review what they're proposing
Okay.
if they
Are you
want
gonna
to.
do anything about the sale price a week before?
I can't afford it.
You can't.
It would work just like when we make something more restrictive, they're grandfathered in, so it works just in reverse.
Yeah, kind of a reverse, yeah. And like I said, in the last part, the last criteria we had in here was the direct discharge sites. Again, the county had that. The county ordinance talks about if you have property that's adjacent to, in our county, 3 water courses. The Des Plaines River, the Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal, and the DuPage River. If you truly are adjacent to them, they typically like you to not detain the water, get that storm water in the river and get it out of the way before all the detained flow comes in. So we just wanted to make it clear, in our ordinance, so it definitely mimics what the county says. It makes it clear for developers coming in and looking at, what is Joliet stormwater ordinance?
Mr. Chairman,
With that direct discharge,
yeah,
it's only the portion of, if you have property that's adjacent to the river, let's say, it's only the portion of the property that already is draining to the river. If half of it is draining somewhere else other than the river, and you develop that, you still have to provide attention for that. It's only
Okay.
the portion that was directly draining to the river.
So any natural, that would have gone that way originally.
Anything that naturally. went
Good example of that is the old Caterpillar site on Route 6. A portion of Caterpillar drains directly to the Des Plaines River. The north end drains north towards the old I&M Canal. So they've had to provide detention for the north portion, but it's being redeveloped now by Centerpoint, and the sections that drain directly to the river, we've let it. That's okay. That's allowed to go directly into the river without detaining it. The portion to the north, they have to provide detention for it.
is there an indirect discharge versus direct discharge? Is there an indirect discharge, is there a retention? What is the?
If it's indirect, in other words, if something, say, didn't go directly into the river, but went through a couple other properties before it went
goes
to the
through
river,
some-
that's not direct discharge.
Okay,
Then you're
that's-
required to provide detention.
That's what you're talking, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay?
Okay. Any more questions from the committee? Any questions from the audience? Okay, then the motion's in order for M-1-14. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. DeAndre?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Roosnellis?
Aye.
Mr. Walden?
Aye.
Mr. Shatina?
Aye,
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, the second case up on our agenda today is P9-14. It's the preliminary plat of Center Point Intermodal Center at Joliet Subdivision East in amendment. The applicants are Center Point Joliet Terminal Railroad LLC. The request is the approval of a preliminary plat, and the purpose is to create 45 industrial lots for future development. All of that property is IT zoned, which is the intermodal terminal district zoning. The location is, all of the property is west of the existing Union Pacific Railroad tracks. The size of the property under this plat is 1,504 acres, and its existing land use is an industrial business park in various stages of development. Surrounding land use and zoning, to the north we've got industrial with I-2 and unincorporated Will County. To the south is industrial with unincorporated Will County. To the east is industrial and some residential with an I-1 and an RB. To the west is industrial with IT zoning. Under site history, Centerpoint Joliet Terminal Railroad LLC has petitioned multiple requests which were heard and approved by the Plan Commission and the Mayor and the City Council for their properties and the development over time. The majority of the property was annexed, zoned the IT, and approved with the annexation agreement as Phase 1, and that was December of '08. Phase 2, which is all of the holdings that weren't there at the time, were done in March of 2010. Under special information, the petition is requesting the approval of this East Amendment preliminary plat in order to allow the subdivision and in continued industrial development of the 1,504 acres. 45 lots are being proposed, and they range in size from .3 to 246 acres. There is a current proposal to develop lots 20, 21, and 23 in Block 1, and then lots 6, 7, 8, and 9 in Block 2. And that's a crude oil pipeline that originates with the transload facility being constructed at the northeast corner of Valero Way and Patterson Roads. The proposed subdivision will also plat the new realignment of Brandon Road. The remaining lots will be part of a future re-subdivision when additional users require the need for additional buildable land. Public improvements will be required per the subdivision regulations and the requirements of the city's public works and the utilities departments. All future development will need to comply with the design standards and the landscaping requirements set forth in the IT section of the zoning ordinance and the approved annexation agreement. Sewer and water connection, sewer surcharge fees, development impact fees will be required as previously approved in the annexation agreement. And then lastly, the Community Design Review Board reviewed this matter on October the 2nd, and the minutes are available if requested. And that concludes our staff report.
May we have the petitioner, please?
Good afternoon, members of the Plan Commission. Mike Hanson, attorney for CenterPoint, along with Rusty Thurston from Geotech as our engineer. I believe the staff report adequately states our proposal.
Mr. Chairman, with
Go ahead.
respect to 1,500 acres of land in an area that is in continuing development of sort, is there any possibility or any way that you can leave the thing open and rather than identifying sizes as development occurs, take certain portions out and size them at that point in time and leave the rest alone, or does it make any sense?
Well, if I'll take first crack at this, what we sort of did, it reminds me of the Rock Run Business Park, and I can't tell you, we sort of tried to do that with Rock Run Business Park, and you could never guess it right. We ended up doing, I don't know how many amended preliminary plats, probably 3 or 4 or 5 over the years. And so this is an attempt at the best guess on how properties would develop. And I think the CenterPoint folks know that, you know, if there's an appetite for 1 million square foot buildings, the lot should be a certain size. If it's, 200,000 square foot buildings, the lots will be different sizes. They know what the marketplace is on. We need so many big lots, so many smaller lots. Little leftover pieces might be good for trucking facilities or container storage. So we've worked with them on all of that stuff over the years. So I guess this is our best guess, and you'll probably see re-preliminary plats in the future. You'll see final and recording plats. What we've promised in the whole development process, though, is that this wouldn't slow down any development, that if they had a prospect, because what we find is a lot of times they'll get a prospect that will be on a really short time frame. So we try to build in as much flexibility as possible, and we sort of told them that we can get a building under construction as we go through the planning process and get it all straightened out. So there's no attempt to slow anything down. And as a matter of fact, we've tried to make it convenient because nobody can guess. Nobody's got the crystal ball to tell. But this is, and Rusty, this is CenterPoint's best guess on how it would most likely develop. subject to a lot of changes most likely.
Based on market experience.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
So so basically, by doing a preliminary of the whole area, they can market it better than doing a preliminary each time somebody comes in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it's not, it then is not raw farmland, it's annexed, zoned, platted, and again, too, for us, the real litmus test is going through final plat and recording plat. I mean, that's where you really got something to sell or to deliver. The problem, though, that we have is that, again, with the industrial market, there's a lot, million square foot deals out there, there's, 100,000 square foot deals, and nobody can guess who wants to go where and when and how, and so this loads in a little bit of flexibility
Yeah.
for them.
Well, that's why it's called preliminary, because it can change.
Correct,
Right.
correct. Now, the nice thing about the preliminary, it does identify the sort of road patterns and the lay of the land, and we get a preliminary look at stormwater management and road networks, and part of the reason why we're doing this now at this time is because CenterPoint's gonna reconfigure the road network with a new section of Brandon Road, and then the pipeline, this will help accommodate the location of that pipeline that they're putting in as well.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, with respect to that, and along the same line I was thinking about, if you had an underlying zoning, and that's obviously an industrial zoning of some sort,
Right.
and you could break it off in pieces depending on the market, wouldn't it save a lot of time and expense having to go through all that breaking down of simple plots? You're not going to go to an acre anywhere, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be simpler if that was done? I suppose you can't do it legally at this point,
Right,
or maybe functionally it doesn't work.
right.
But I think we ought to give some thought to that, where if you had that big a piece, 1,500 acres with an underlying zoning, and then as the market occurs, that if you had to break off a 30-acre piece or a 100-acre piece or a 200-acre piece, you could do that without going through much of a,
And that's why they're coming with a preliminary now and not with finals and recording plats. Because, for
okay.
that very reason, because then it's like, the best, it's like a preliminary site plan, subject to change. Now, when they get the first user that's gonna come in, then we'll see if it will probably see a revised preliminary plat with a final plat and a recording plat, and then they'll do all the engineering for that final plat, and then construction drawings to the public works, so they'll know that particular piece is then set in stone. But just keeping the preliminary alive and not going through the final platting process gives them that flexibility.
thank you.
Okay.
I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Quick. With regards to that, they're also, what they're doing is they're final platting and recording the lots that are immediately available that are serviced right now. And that way, as Joliet requires, they can only put one building on a lot at a time. So what we want to do is have a lot of records so they can start construction on a building as their desires need. And then in the process of that, what we'll do is we'll break down that lot to exactly what they need at that point. That gives them the opportunity to build on another lot as another user comes available.
So this is as simple as you can get it the way we're doing it now.
It's probably as simple as we can do it, and it also, stays within the subdivision regulations of the city and allows the developer the opportunity to expedite their building process.
Okay, any other questions from the commission? Any questions from the audience?
Hey, I'm sorry,
Come
but
up
we
and-
record these proceedings, so you have to come up, give your name and address.
If you would, please.
Andrew Tordai Jr. I own 5 acres up there yet. And what does this do to the property owners that still own land out there?
You have a,
Nothing.
that doesn't change
No.
any of your property unless you're gonna be, part of the, the subdivision.
So,
I don't know, you have anything?
No, it doesn't do anything. It's plat.
Mhm.
Until a final plat comes in, it doesn't do anything.
But your 5 acres is not within the platted area.
Not within,
No, he's not even annexed to
yeah.
the city.
Okay, so you're outside of it right now, so.
oh, there's only, I don't know how many properties out there.
Not many lots.
Not many, no. So, Just want to know, you know, what's going to happen to us.
Right. No, it doesn't change your situation at all, so. I mean, you're still owning, you're still in the county.
Yeah, in that case, your fire protection stays the same, everything, your county services all remain the same, nothing changes at all. With development, I suppose that it over time would help benefit you if you ever considered selling the land. If there were water and sewer close by and annexation to the city were possible, it may increase the value of your property, but at this point in time, it should have no effect on you whatsoever.
Wouldn't it be more valuable to Centerpoint to have it all and do what they want with it? And
Well, that's between you and Centerpoint. If you ever wanted to sell, that's, that would be up to you. If you wanted to stay there, that would be fine. If you wanted to sell to Centerpoint or anybody else, that, again, is up to you and respect your right to do that.
well, I'm just concerned. I don't want to see people walked over, you know,
Yeah,
because we did sell a big amount of property to Centerpoint.
right.
Actually, we were some of the first sellers.
Yeah. Well, Mike's the attorney for Centerpoint, so if you'd ever want to set up discussions with those folks, there's your man.
You know, I think probably every party's probably interested in getting out of there.
I believe you've had discussions with
No, I haven't really. No, I just on a road right away that they wanted me to donate. You know, I didn't figure that was anything beneficial for you.
Probably one of these parcels up here
Would?
somewhere. Could be any one of these over here.
All right.
All right,
See
thank
what
you. Any other comments from the audience? Come on up. Give your name and address, please.
Kirk Wilkins, 19959 Schweitz Road. In review of the preliminary plats that are going to be there, are they public to where we can get our hands on the plats? Because I want to see what they're going to do to Brandon Road and the arteries that service my particular house with everything. I need to see that information, whether or not I need to
We should be able to get him a
put
copy,
my
right,
feet. I
Tim?
want to.
Yeah.
They got them already? Is this something that I can hang on to?
There you go.
That's my answer, gentlemen.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, then, motion's in order for P-9-14.
So moved.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Rusnellis?
Aye.
Mr. Shatina?
Aye.
Mr. Walden?
Aye.
Ms. DeAndre?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, we have nothing under study session, so next up would be approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Do I say we have a motion and a second? Any discussion? Any changes? Any of opposition? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
And then lastly, adjournment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
We're out of here. Thank you.
Yeah.